Welcome everyone on the channel Tommy's Retells, and today we will take a look at the story of 2019 biographical martial arts film called IP Man for the Final. Let's go. In San Francisco in 1964, participants in an international karate tournament wrestled in the ring. From the sidelines, IP Man looks on. Then we are thrown back in time for a month, where a Hong Kong doctor tells IP Man that he has a malignant tumor that is rapidly invading his body. Nothing but chemotherapy can help him, but he has to give up cigarettes to get it started. An unidentified man comes to the karate team and disturbs them with his behavior. A fight is provoked in which the guy showed himself well, but IP Man was stronger. When the stranger realizes who was in front of him, he was surprised. He says his name is Billy and that he is a student of Bruce Lee. Lee invites IP Man to a karate tournament in America and gives him plane tickets and his author's book. IP Man asked to convey Lee that he politely declined. Everyone there was shocked. Chin, IP's son, was expelled by the principal for bullying. When asked for a last chance, the principal refused, suggesting that he should look for a school somewhere overseas. The doctor patched up Chin's wounds after another fight. IP Man was visited by a guy named Poi. The main character says he wants to go to San Francisco to find a good school for his son and asks Po to look after him. Chin took it badly, saying he didn't want to study, but wanted to do kung fu. After losing his mother, his relationships with his father deteriorated completely. Man hit his son and kicked him out of the room, and Poi blamed this behavior on his age. Whip flew to San Francisco. He was met by an old acquaintance whom he hadn't seen in 8 years. Whip needs a letter of recommendation for placement in a local school, which Lang promises to give after his trip to the diaspora. The great kung fu masters sit around the round table with IP Man. Master 1 criticizes Bruce for his poor selection of students and for writing a book in English. He calls him overconfident and considers his desire to participate in the karate tournament a provocation. IP didn't share his complaint, but one was undeterred and added that kung fu should be reserved for Chinese. Whip and Man stood their ground until they parried and broke the table. Whip apologized and left the place. At the hotel, IP again asked for a recommendation later, and Lang promised to help. In the evening, IP called home, but Chin refused to talk to him, and Paul asked to buy medicine for his wife, which wasn't available in China. Wang Zhonghua's daughter is learning kung fu from her father, but she doesn't like it. She wants to be a cheerleader, and her father calls her to perform at the fall festival. American Lang rejected Waitie's request for a letter of recommendation because there are too many Chinese immigrants in America, so they are looking for more options. IP was at the Brass Championship. The locals thought it was a setup match. After the tournament, Brass chatted with Whip at a coffee shop. He said he knew a lawyer who could help with the letter. Brass introduced his students to Whip. One of them was Hartman, a Marine who dreamed of giving publicity to kung fu in military camps. Brass and the students' rivals came into the cafe. They went outside and Brass clamped them down. The enemies admitted defeat. Brass pulled out the letter and Whip prepared to meet the principal. Wang Zhonghua's daughter participated cheerleading and became team captain at away games. Wang William tried to stop her, but she failed. The principal of the school didn't accept the letter because in order to be accepted you need a letter from the Chinese diaspora or donation of $10,000 to the school fund. Yona was bullied by the William, not letting her pass. After school, Yona was attacked by her friends. Yona's hair was cut off, but her kung fu skills helped her defeat her opponents. Whipman, who was watching from the side, stood up for her and the bullies ran away frightened. Whip and the girl was riding a bus when she asked him to trim her hair. IP asked how often does this happen, and he realized that she was Wang Zhonghua's daughter. Becky lied to her mother, telling her that Yona attacked her. Her mother immediately called her husband. Yona reached home with Whip and asked Dad to get a recommendation. One Zonghua slaps her daughter on the cheek. Whip stands up for her, but Zonghua doesn't mind. He is against immigration. One offered to spar with Whip. It was a lively fight, no one conceded, and even with the bruise, IP was doing well. The fight was interrupted by an earthshake, and they decided to determine the winner at the party. Whip recalls their quarrel with his son and calls home again, but no one answers. A US Marine Corps camp trains Marines in a harsh environment. When Hartman offered to train soldiers Kung Fu, Burton was skeptical. Hartman lost a duel with a Todd fighter named Colin, confirming his superior's doubts. Whip continues to smoke in spite of the doctor's words. Yona handed him a letter with his father's forget handwriting. Whip tore up the envelope because it is punishable by law. Yona was upset that she hadn't received support from her father in a long time. Whip finds this to be similar to their relationships with his son. Becky's father, Andrew, from Department of Immigrant Affairs, was angry that his daughter was abused by Chinese women. Hartman was able to get through to the top and show his idea, to which he received an endorsement. Barton expressed his dissatisfaction with this to the instructor, adding that karate was better than kung fu. There was a fall festival in the China area where everyone had a good time. Hartman, Whip, and Yona greeted each other. Andrew took it out on Zonghua by taking him into custody. Colin and his karateka came to the party uninvited. Although everyone wasn't pleased with him, he went on stage and smashed bricks with his hands. He challenged the Kung Fu masters, but only one could fight him. Whip fought Colin. Both fought to the limit, but Whip prevailed. Everyone was ecstatic. Colin was carried away by his students, and Yona learned that her father was in custody. Finds out Colin got a fracture and Andrew threatened Zonghua with the destruction of his diaspora. Billy was on police duty when Whip and Yona asked for help. He said he didn't know how to help and that the diaspora will be raided today. Burton ambushed the masters in the office, and then IP Man came in. He told him what happened. Andrew came late when everybody had already left. Burton hinted that Andrew better turn in the head of the Chinese diaspora. Yona said it was all her fault because she got into a fight with Becky. Zonghua told his daughter not to fall to her knees and accepted Burton's challenge. In this fight, the better martial arts will be decided. They fought at full strength, you couldn't tell who was winning, but at one point one broke his leg. Hartman came to the rescue while the Marines cheered. Meanwhile, the other masters were figuring out what to do about the immigration service trying to deport them. Hartman calls Bruce and tells him about the events. One is injured and is now in a trauma unit. Whip tries to reach his son again and tells him about his illness. Chin picked up the phone in tears and his father let him practice Kung Fu, saying he would be home soon. The protagonist asked Hartman to show him the way to the training camp, and Yona dissuaded him for going, but he had already decided to defend the honor of Kung Fu. Burton said in front of the Marines that other cultures shouldn't be allowed into America, for which Hartman called him a racist and sicked him on IP Man. Burton even managed to keep the advantage in the fight, but Whip didn't take it, and after opening his second breath, he won. Burton went to the hospital and IP listened to the applause of the crowd. One finally gave the letter to Whip, but it's useless now. Upon returning home, IP teaches Chin Kung Fu. While filming the whole thing, he remembers all his past victories and his beloved wife. In the next scene, we see the farewell ceremony. IP Man has passed away. This is the end. What do you think of the movie IP Man? Share your opinion in the comments. Thank you for watching and see you later.